Welcome to Great Stories Shop Talk. My name is Chris Mills. I'm the owner of Great Stories. And I have with me here our regular panel. We got Ken Lee, who does the Crank File on our blog. We got Rob Goyer, who does Cards Encounters. And we got Tyler Hamill.
I just work here.
Just works here.
Yeah.
You might see him in some
Sometimes.
other things that we have happening, which may or may not be released in the near future. So, our first episode, we're actually going to be talking a little bit about Secret Empire, Marvel's big event, and probably the last event that's going to happen for quite a while. If
That's what they're saying.
that's what they're saying.
So they
If
say.
that holds true.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I like DC that
And-
restarts your universe twice in a year.
Anyway, you probably have some more DC jives as we go along through these events that we're filming here. So, anyway, we're here to talk about all these things plus a lot more. We're going to be hitting on all the DC, Marvel, independent universes out there. We're going to be talking about some pop culture. We're going to be talking about some games actually. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get started. With no further ado, let's chat Secret Empire.
Alright, so first and foremost, as you guys know, I am only like 5 books into the saga itself, so I don't really have much to say on it per other than like just the very beginning.
People are going to stop watching right now.
Yeah, no, you
Right
should
now.
stop
They're
watching
just gonna
right
be
now.
Like, these guys have nothing to say.
Definitely important to know. So
Didn't even
right
read
now, right now we have the first 4 books have
Dog
been
ate
released.
my homework.
Amazing cover, amazing artwork.
Oh, yeah,
The
it's beautiful,
look
it's great. I hear that there are panels inside
There are actually words inside.
that play out to
Yeah.
make a comic.
Yes.
Um,
Actions and words.
So something that I've heard that Marvel hasn't been strong about in the past is that the tie-in books are really big, specifically for Secret Empire. So I'm new to comics in general. I've only been part of this for the past year or so, and that's when I really got into it. So you guys are much more versed in this type of things. Let's discuss for a second how big of a deal this is.
Well, I mean, from a few different perspectives, I want to touch upon a point here about event books and how in the past, event books and their tie-ins have not been traditionally all that important to reading, Marvel events.
It almost feels like it's a nuisance, right? It's like this is like
Yeah,
all of a sudden
great
your
manga.
storylines. I gotta like take a break and
Cash
talk
grab.
about
Yeah.
Hey, let's go see what's going on in the Civil War storyline, right?
Exactly. But by and large, at least through this event, the books that I've read, and I haven't read all the tie-ins yet, but all the tie-ins that I have read have actually been pretty intrinsic into the story, which is kind of refreshing.
I would say somewhat to the case that if you aren't going to go in and continue reading The Secret Empire, there are a couple tie-ins that I've read so far that almost don't really make sense if you don't continue with the overarching story. Because otherwise it's just like an extra little bit that gets thrown off some other timeline and then, where's it going?
That's right.
So, yeah.
So what is the story? And we talk about like how big this is, right, in
Yep.
various aspects. But for our readers who actually haven't given Sacred Empire a chance yet, or want to learn more about it,
Is it sacred
Let's,
or is it secret?
did I say sacred?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh.
I'm dyslexic too, so.
There's nothing sacred about this. All right. Anyway, Secret Empire really is kind of turning the universe on its head, taking probably the most beloved character in Marvel's world. But maybe Spider-Man might have a fighting
Probably
chance.
has
at
an
that.
edge, yeah.
He's
But-
the greatest superhero of all time.
Captain America is looked at as being
He's the only one that punched Hitler in the face.
exactly. So how can you possibly make a villain out of Captain America?
But
Well-
that's exactly what Secret Empire does.
Well, my friends, Nick Spencer, he's the guy that has either the proverbial cojones, or you could say the audacity to do something like this.
Yeah,
It's been pretty divisive.
Yeah. A lot of people
Yeah.
coming into it, they're like, wait, what are they doing here? Like, how can they do this and think they're going to get away with it? But actually, they're doing a pretty good job.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I gotta say, Nick Spencer has ticked off a lot of people. I mean, you read the blogs out there, you read, even talking to the customers coming in. I mean, there have been some people who have been very angry with Nick Spencer.
Are they actually real? Are
But-
these customers actually reading the book, or are they just coming in, hearing what they know, like third hand from media sites, and just making decisions based on that. That's really what I'd like to know.
Well, I mean, the answer probably changes customer to customer, right? But I will say this: I know someone who loves the Captain America title very much, who has stopped reading it, and all because of Mr. Spencer. So probably won't go back to reading Captain America until Nick Spencer is done.
This got me more excited to reread Captain America, because this isn't just all of a sudden he's an agent for Hydra. This is going back all the way to where he's been Hydra all along.
Yeah, so so what happens is it's a mix between two potential realities, where in one reality, the Hydra gets a hold of Captain America while he's still young, and then throughout his life they train him to...
Sure. Right. I mean, I guess it would make sense to go back and kind of just recap where it's all started from, right? So this goes even further back than Secret Empire. It started probably back with Pleasant Hill, the Avengers standoff, which came out last year. And if you guys didn't read it, it was S.H.I.E.L.D. had taken a sentient cosmic cube. So the cosmic cube turned into this little girl named Kobik. And they used it to create this basically idyllic prison where they would take these villains, super villains, and they would rewrite their memories so they think that they were just like people living out normal lives in this place called Pleasantville. And it was very like, very
Pleasant Hill.
Pleasant Hill, right, that's what they call it.
Reese Witherspoon would be very upset with you right now.
It feels like that, they're living these like suburban lives. Everyone's living like like Stepford Wives kind of place.
Yes.
Until Baron Zemo wises up to it, and they figure out what's going on. He reveals it to everyone up, and that eventually causes this whole shitstorm where there's an uprising, the prison breakout, and all the supervillains get released. But one of the fallouts of this was that Kobik restores Captain America, who at the time had reverted back to his natural age, so he was just older than dirt.
Yep.
And she changed him back to young Steve Rogers, back to being young Captain America. Only this time, she changed him completely, rewrote his past history so that instead of him being, the Captain America we all know and love, he had been recruited by Hydra at a young age,
Right.
And secretly, just kind of really groomed to be their supreme leader. Yes.
And that's all coming to fruition now.
Yes.
That's right. So,
and a lot of this information, again, tying back to the whole how the tie-ins are a huge part. Thunderbolts was one of the first books to hold the Secret Empire banner.
Mm-hmm.
Book number 12 is a huge part of that whole how Kubik is tied into it and how the reality is falling apart, and eventually bringing Captain America in to pretty much take over the regime of Hydra and exploit the Avengers and so on until he gets to the point where he is able to command total power.
Yeah. What's interesting too is that again this goes back really far. This goes back through a lot of Spencer's other works too, where you see him Cap behind the scenes, some consolidating power. Just recently in his Captain America series, it shows how he's gains control of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
Takes away from the trial of Maria Hill.
Yep.
How she gets found guilty of whatever crime she committed, and Steve basically plotting leads him to become the supreme leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And along with the S.H.I.E.L.D. initiative that they just passed in the government, which basically puts the entire U.S. Army at the command of whoever leads S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yeah.
who we find out also has to be running Hydra.
Right. Exactly. So it's definitely a very interesting story so far. At least for as far as I've read, I'm about 12 issues behind between the main storyline and the tie-ins. I've got a lot of reading to do, which I'm gonna try.
actually, maybe you should dismiss yourself right now. You can go in the other room and read.
Well,
all the books.
I think I've
You
had
rejoin
a
the
lot to
conversation.
say up to this point. So I think I'm doing my part and keeping it interesting. Okay.
Yes, you are.
But fine. I'll just. How'd that be? Rob, would you like to say something?
Oh boy, can't stop laughing.
I'm on the other completely opposite side of the spectrum. I'm just actually reading just like the main stories. I'm not reading any of the tie-ins at all. And actually, there hasn't been a lot that happened in the first 3 issues. we kind of see the fallout of Cap taking over the world.
So let's review what's actually happened in the first 3 issues. Well, actually, it's 4. It's 4, right? Because we've got
we're up to number
0.
3, but number 0.
Well, yeah, it was a free comic book day, but there really wasn't any story in that either.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think so in this first book, or actually, we don't have to really tell what happens in each individual book, but the story so far is that Maria Hill has gone underground.
Yep.
Right. She's been knocked out of S.H.I.E.L.D. completely, and I think that was over. She was on trial over the Pleasant Hill episode.
Yeah, exactly.
But prior to that, I think she had orchestrated the institution of a shield that could basically prevent a Shatari invasion.
Right.
Of Earth.
And that was Steve Rogers had actually built them up. He was working against their fears, trying to get them to position themselves where they can trap themselves, and ultimately it works because Alpha Flight actually gets trapped outside of the shield, and now they are essentially exiled from the planet.
That's right. So big star of Civil War II, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, pretty much nullified in this book.
And now she's sitting pretty on top of a shield just outside Atmos and getting bombarded time and time again by this constant waves of Shatari invaders.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So, and in the meantime, you have Cap, who is then somewhere, I think it was in issue number 1, is basically now revealed that he has been Hydra all along. Mm-hmm. And
so he's hiding his face. At least within the first issue, I know he's hiding his face because he doesn't want them to know quite yet, but that was a part of building up to him eventually revealing himself so that they would gain more confidence in his abilities. Right up to the moment when he reveals that he is in fact Hydra. And that Hydra is the way to go.
Right. And he's put a lot of chess pieces on the board, right? So he's been using characters like DaCosta from U.S. Avengers, right? He's the leader of that group. Basically, who else has been taken off the board here? We've got
Doctor Strange.
Everyone in New York.
Yeah.
The Defenders have been out.
In Manhattan, the Defenders are stuck in Manhattan because who's the Cloak?
Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, they're trapped
stuck
there as well.
there.
Yep.
With
what happened?
Defenders and Champions.
Yeah. No, the Champions are still out.
The Champions have they're in hiding.
Yeah.
They're the underground.
Yeah.
the underground.
Yeah, it might be easier just to name who's like still on the board at this point. So basically
it's
everyone's
cool,
taken off, right?
So on the board, we actually have Scarlet Witch has actually gone in, like, she is with Captain America.
Well, yeah, because you have the new kind of not new Avengers, but a new Avengers that are on the Hydra side.
And that would be Scarlet Witch, Vision,
Yep.
Lady Thor. Was she on that side? I think I remember seeing her
Yes.
on her side.
Yes.
Yep.
And Odin's son, Thor.
The
this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
the Unworthy.
Yeah, the Unworthy. He's just identified as Odin's son
Ah.
because a Thor title passed on to Jane.
And also we found out that Deadpool, I mean, we got to talk
Yeah, of
Deadpool,
course,
right?
yeah.
What is Deadpool's role in this whole thing? And Deadpool, you find out, has actually run a mission prior to Cap basically taking over everything. He has basically been running missions for him, and in fact, took someone off the board completely, potentially permanently. If you read the Deadpool tie-in, Phil Coulson is dead. Allegedly.
Again.
Well,
Although it's
Lola is certainly dead.
Yeah.
Lola is certainly dead. That's
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know. Lola is his beloved car, flying car, but yeah, it appears that Phil Coulson has been killed.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's with this particular event, they really go above and beyond. They're showing that this is a wide scale event. It's really crippled the heroes of Earth.
Yeah, there's been some real fallout too. I mean, we already had Rick Jones die by firing squad in the first issue.
Rick Jones, that was a huge moment actually in that book.
Did not see that coming.
No.
It was very much a moment where, like in Game of Thrones, I'm thinking like, wow, how he's gonna get out of this situation up until that very last second.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't find a favorite character in, Secret Empire?
Yeah.
Do you recall what he yelled out before he gets killed?
Yeah, he says, "This is the end of this."
He says, "This is the end of this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avengers assemble!
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was his defiant roar at the end there before he was killed. So, yeah, and so I think that kind of all bets are off with this event. That's the bottom line. And I don't know where they're taking it. And how many books is this going to be? This is going to be
10, I believe.
10 books.
Yeah.
So we're only
under the Secret Empire title. I believe there's 9 total.
Yeah, number
but
9.
then you have another kind of like more core tie-in, but not the official title itself.
right.
Okay. I am Gregory Thane, detective of the NYPD. If you're hearing this, you've outlived me. Good job. Now, if you're also hearing this, you're probably where I died. You might want to move. They're watching.
This is Bill. I do not believe this affects the entire world. We are going to get off this boat, we are going to re-find light, and we are going to rejoin society. I do not accept this ending.
This is Kyle Denton. If you could get this message to my mom, that would be really great. If you could just tell her that I really appreciate what she did, and I hope that she makes it.
This is Pierce. Done a lot of things I'm not proud of, but you gotta do what you can to survive. That's the key. Do whatever you must to survive.
These are the last words of Danica Langris, I want to say teacher, but I'm only working in preschool, so daycare teacher. I want to admit that I'm sorry. I couldn't. I want to tell my boyfriend that he's a fucking douchebag. And I want to say that to the family of that child, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I hope you can hear this. This is Katrina Nocturne, if anybody else is listening. Things have been very rough, and please, all I can ask is, please survive.
All right. So you have in an offshoot book, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, it's called The Uprising. Black Widow is training the champions, kind of Red Room style.
Yeah. Be more like Ruthless, right?
Yeah. Well, how's that going to go over? I mean, we're taking... I mean, the champions here are very idealistic, youthful...
Yeah.
The kids.
They're kids, right?
The kids.
So,
Which has always worked well in the Marvel Universe before. Let's make weapons out of children, and it definitely won't backfire.
Never. I mean, do you see that kind of influence potentially going the wrong direction, maybe having some lasting ramifications going forward in their stories?
I think maybe with some core characters that are a little bit less idealistic, that are a little bit more by the book, that might fall into that category of, trying to fight back against what they had been taught during this ordeal, regardless of whatever comes of this. But I think there are some characters that they just don't ever change. Sometimes they'll go with the flow because that's what they need to do to survive. But, like, I can't imagine Miles Morales. There's no way this kid is ever going to go full Hydra for the rest of his life. Like, when this stuff falls apart, he's going to be... He's fighting for the good side.
He's going to be the idealistic, but don't we remember what happened in Civil War II? Civil War II, for all its faults, had a very striking vision. The one thing that actually sticks with me from those books was that potential future that Ulysses illustrated. Ulysses being the Inhuman who had the powers of, prediction of future events. He envisioned Miles Morales killing Captain America.
Well, we saw a vision of him holding a dead Captain America body. We never actually see Miles Morales kill Captain America.
That's true.
I mean, we see a vision of something implied, whether or not what actually comes
Right.
Is
Right.
what we think.
That's a fair point.
That scene means.
That is a fair point.
But, to agree with Tyler, I do think that there are going to be some characters that morally, they're just set that way. They're always going to be on the side of good. There are going to be certain lines that they don't cross because to them being a hero means, you don't cross that line. You don't take lives. You don't take lives unless there's no other choice.
But I think also, to a point, just the fact that they are so young, and this is going to hurt, but I will reference to DC. A major thing between Supergirl and Superman is that Superman literally limits himself, and that's how he keeps himself in check. And Supergirl will always be more powerful because she doesn't. Because she's younger, she grew up in a different situation, so she doesn't realize that she has to put limits on herself. So as a younger hero, most of them, they may or may not realize that some of these things that keep the older heroes in check, those internal boundaries, they're not there for them. So who really can say what we could expect from younger heroes? Even though, it kind of contradicts exactly what I had just said prior, my last comment, but at the same time, kind of expanding that thought, like there's a lot of room for change with the younger heroes.
It's a fair point because the younger heroes are always looked down upon in every storyline, whether it's Marvel or DC. So they have something to prove.
They're the jokes.
They're
basically
the jokes of the universe.
Yeah.
When it comes to Marvel universe, but so they're always held back by the older generation of heroes. So
not only are they sometimes and often the jokes, but oftentimes they are the triggers for major change.
Yeah.
We think about the very first Civil War.
Sure.
What started the first Civil War?
It was the New Warriors trying to go rogue, stop some terrorists, and was nuking a elementary school, I believe.
That's right. Stamford, Connecticut, never the same, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of experience that these guys are so hyper idealistic about, how they're going to be able to make the world a better place that they don't stop and realize that a lot of their actions will have other ramifications that affect people outside of them, what they do. I think a lot of the other older superheroes have been around the block enough times to realize that, hey, we can't just cut it loose. Whatever, we got to realize what we do affects other people.
Yeah, is that usually the old guys don't make the mistakes. World War Hulk wasn't ever started because of the Illuminati shedding Hulk into space. But anyway, so to be fair, we can throw that that baton of blame at the old guys too every once in a while.
Yeah, and to that extent, when you have a situation like that where you you more or less, they have a rule, you don't kill. We don't kill our enemies. We lock them up. We try to
due process.
Them. Yeah. For a younger hero, the thought pattern might come up that the easiest way to take care of our problems is to snuff it out, and that. And being taught that, hey, and that's a huge thing within specifically this new Hydra world, is that weakness is not tolerated. And it's not enough to just put it behind prison bars, it needs to be taken care of completely.
And I think that's exactly what Black Widow is preaching to the champions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the Uprising book. She's saying, listen, we do everything we can to avoid killing our enemies. But sometimes you have to make that call. What does she say? Something like, I'm going to mess up the quote in the book, but basically, do you choose, one monster to die or thousands of innocents? And sometimes you're going to make that tough call.
Mm.
And so, but it's the champions, the idealistic youngsters who are basically kind of pushing back on that.
I think there's going to be just some perfect solution where everyone gets justice served and no one dies. Yeah. But that's not the reality of it.
Right. So I'm very intrigued. I for one, in terms of subplots in this event, that's one thing that struck me today. And maybe it's because that was the last book I actually read. But that one subplot where Black Widow's really trying to mold these kids it's kind of like, is there going to be some kind of fallout to this after this whole event's even over? It might not even be felt during the confines of the Secret Empire event, but are there going to be some changes in some of these youngster characters going forward? And maybe because some of the unintended influence, or well, intended influence really by Black Widow, but will it go awry?
I think a telling sign that it will happen is that Champions is basically made up. There's a group of kids who are taking up mantles of other characters, and we know Marvel's making a push this year to kind of bring back a lot of their legacy characters to their original ways. So you get the feeling that this team, they're not going to be holding up their characters forever, and I think that's what some of the fallout we're going to see from Secret Empire will be. Some of these guys realizing, hey, I can't keep carrying on as Hulk. I can't keep carrying on as maybe Spider-Man. And maybe they, go off, do different characters so that the original characters can come back. But I think that's why we're seeing with the Champions, this team specifically of characters.
Right. You bring up a good topic, actually. I mean, I know we're sitting here talking about Secret Empire, but we've already seen potentially one of those characters that has replaced an icon, Sam Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much dropped the mantle of Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot of people are pretty happy about.
It's true.
The question is, now that there's a Falcon, does Sam Wilson then bump the current Falcon from being...
That's not really fair, but I mean... You'd have two Falcons, I guess?
Like, what? I don't know.
Together
I don't
they
know.
make almost one decent hero.
One of them's going to go.
Oh, that's...
I'm just kidding. I have nothing against Falcon. I take opportunities where I get them.
I imagine, I don't know if Sam Wilson's kind of, I have a feeling Sam Wilson might be one of the tragedies, the fallout casualties of this event. He's so close enough to Steve. If there's ever a character that could bring Steve back from the brink, it's probably Sam, his closest friend.
Right.
Aside from Bucky, but...
Well, yeah,
I mean...
But he can't accomplish that. He could just walk away from it, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like being a hero altogether.
Well, so actually, no,
Sure.
to your point, I can't remember if it was a tie-in, if it was one of the core books, but they actually do away with Bucky. And Steve is remorseful about it, but he essentially tells him in a recording, like, this is just the way it's gotta be, bye-bye. So for him to so easily let Bucky get eliminated, and I mean eliminated, what's to say what could actually really bring him back from this?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, that was one of the big fundamental changes with Cap's history being rewritten, right? Was that line no longer exists for him. He is willing to kill in order to, he thinks that the person he's killing is standing in his way of furthering his plot for...
He writes it into one of his 3 main codes.
He doesn't like it. He doesn't necessarily enjoy doing it.
He views it as the greater good.
Right, that's the thing. It's like a sacrifice that he's making. Right?
Yeah.
Better good.
For the betterment of the world and for Hydra, which I guess in a kind of a way, I would say he almost views it as the right path, you know?
Oh, totally.
Clearly, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, and I don't mean to step because I'm pointing at the shirt right now, but I was pretty upset with the last panel of issue number 3.
I thought it was so appropriate though, right? I mean, out of all the turns, I mean, that couldn't have surprised you.
No, I mean, well, you know, Punisher Frank Castle over the course of his history has held Steve Rogers in the highest regard.
Mm-hmm.
I remember fights where he basically did not fight. He refused to fight Cap because he respected him so much, you know, as the icon and as the patriot that he is.
Yep.
You know, and
Just the
and basically
the soldier,
yes.
definitely.
A soldier.
Yeah, I mean, he
mentality.
is a paragon of virtue, right? But here is an example of where maybe, just maybe, Frank Castle recognizing, wait a minute, this might be the first time that I could actually disagree with what Cap is doing. You know, that he's basically sold out his country.
So these
So
guys,
yeah, because I'm actually
these guys
not
actually
to this
yeah.
point yet.
So these guys don't really know what we're talking about. I mean,
Okay.
Kyle obviously says he doesn't care. Rob, do you care if we spoil this?
I
I mean,
don't
this
spoil it.
we don't even know when
Spoilers.
this is coming out, so I hope
Yeah.
everyone else is caught up on this too.
What? A minute.
So-
I don't know.
No, you go ahead. Oh.
Good, yeah, we'll flip right open to that panel.
We'll do the Tyler reveal.
Oh. What? Holy cow!
There it is, folks. I could be your punishment. Hail Hydra.
I need that
Wow.
I know. How
It's
cool is
a-
that
it's
Punisher
a- it's
logo
a-
with the
I
Hydra?
need there to be a
It's
shirt.
punishment.
We need a fan make that
That's
shirt.
beautiful.
We do need a
Yeah, you know, I
I
would
need a
have thought
Hydra.
I would
Punisher
have thought it was one
Hydra
of those
mashup shirt.
crossover shirts that we have here. It's like the villain versus the hero.
Yeah.
One of those shirts that we
Exactly.
have here,
That's
but-
what
and
I
in
think that's what Rob's
actuality,
going for here.
which actually is ironic because we have one of those shirts that it's Captain Shield with the Hydra over it. Like, oh yeah, villain versus hero, but now
Yeah.
it's
Makes
actually
sense.
true.
It actually, yeah, hero is the villain. Yeah. So
I bought that as soon as it came out. I had it. I had to.
all I have to say is, damn you, Kobik.
You figure Punisher would team up with him on this, right?
all right. So
That couldn't have been that surprising.
I think there's got to be a long game being played
I don't
here.
think
You
it's
know, I'm
surprising.
hoping. I'm hoping.
For him, I think we're gonna have a big surprise in later issues from him finally turning on Cap. I really do.
Think so?
From what he does, what he is as a hero, or not
Anti-hero.
hero,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
what he
hero.
does for justice and
He's definitely a law and order,
Yeah.
kind of strongman kind
So,
of type.
yeah.
So,
he does end up doing the right thing. So I would like to think that in the later issues he's part of the end result of the whole event.
I hope so too. I hope so too.
Oh, you-
I mean, well, even for other characters.
Either way, I love it.
Think about all the other quote unquote heroes, whether they're anti-heroes or whatever. I mean, Deadpool, another anti-hero, right? That have thrown in kind of with Cap here. Scarlet
Yeah.
Witch, who has been, let's face it, she's got a little bit of a checkered past.
Yeah.
She's caused some pretty big damage in in some big Marvel world events.
Yeah.
But like, is there a point in the story upcoming where it's explained that Kobik has like basically created the situation, or that all these heroes that are currently aligning with Cap all of a sudden wake up?
Oh, does it really
You know?
explain why some of these characters have lined up with him? Because at one point you just saw it's Cap and he's for everything, God bless America and the earth and so on, and then all of a sudden it gets to that point where he can make that switch and reveal who he is, and everything's already in place and nothing can stop him. But then all of a sudden you have all these classic heroes. That, oh yeah, I'm on your side now. Like always, I'm always on your side. So hail Hydra. Haha. So
Yeah.
like, is it really revealed? Again, because I'm a little bit behind. Is it really revealed why some of these heroes are doing this?
there was some reveal in the Free Comic Book Day, I believe, where it showed. I believe it showed like Vision being hit with like he was being overridden with the virus or something.
Right.
And they somehow found a way to trigger Scarlet Witch, but didn't really go out and explain like how he convinced them to join their team. Anyone's guess?
I mean, so like the first time you really see the Avengers reappear is when they're taking down that giant that kaiju. Mm-hmm. And where the kaiju basically comes on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, your ancestors have always satiated my hunger, and then I'll go back to sleep. And look, you have your beautiful houses, so it still works out for the best of us. So just bring forth your sacrifices, and I'll be on my way." And Captain's like, "Yeah, that's not how it's gonna work anymore. Like, we're bringing you down because that's just the way it is." And then the Avengers, of course, jump in and they take him out, like full on eliminate this creature. Mm-hmm. But to that extent, like, this is a creature that's come to basically devour a portion of humanity to satiate its own hunger and then go back sleeping in its little hole, and that's something that the Avengers would want to stop regardless. So is it just that they agree with Captain America with the whole Hydra thing and they want to be a part of it, or is it that they just understand that they can do more good being aligned with him and continuing the stuff that they would normally do and buying their time? Or is it, you know, like, I feel like there's a lot of room to reveal. When the entire Marvel Universe and all of its expanse is all taking place in a single story, there is so many directions that you can go in.
I hope Nick Spencer answers some of these questions as we go forward. There's certainly plenty of opportunity. It's a long-running event, and, you know, there's so many subplots still going on. We haven't even talked about, you know, we have Pimtron. Can I call him Pimtron?
Yeah,
I don't know if that's been coined, you know, but like, you know, the Hank Pym Ultron angle here has, like, we haven't even scratched the surface of that.
He's on the cover of the next issue, so you know he's going to have like a pretty big impact when he returns. But like, in what aspect? No idea.
Yeah, there's a lot happening here, and so many layers, and, you know, but back to your point, I mean, the Deadpool thing, I think there was an explanation of Deadpool's allegiance. Deadpool, well, it was noted that the mission in which he took out Agent Coulson happened before the reveal that Cap was Hydra. But he had basically said, in the way the setup of the issue was that Wade Wilson had such a hero worship of Captain America, and Captain had worked such a psychological angle with him, basically saying, you know, you are now on the Avengers because you're replacing Logan, because you can do the things that Logan used to do for us, the dirty work. And he, of course, moral ambiguity aside, you know, well, he has no problem with that stuff, right? And for him to have an opportunity to be in service to the person who he wanted to be when he grew up, basically, it was a no-brainer for him. Does Deadpool even have a brain? Actually, he's been shot in the head so many times.
Yeah, I think it regenerates.
Well, I mean,
does he lose like little pieces though?
There's so much going on up inside that head that we really can't. I mean, we could wait for him to tell us himself, probably.
Yeah.
If he ever figured out that there was an issue, because I mean, how long did he go on not realizing he killed his own parents? So, there's a lot of questions that
I think Sabretooth tried to tell him that, but anyway.
Yeah, he did, and he was like, what are you talking about, man?
Well, circling back to the Avengers joining Cap's side, do we know whether or not this Hydra thing is spread across the world, or is it just in America?
It's so at least within issue 1, it's just the United States, and then so Carol actually, Captain Marvel, she sends out a message to essentially the rest of the galaxy saying, hey, you know, this is what's going on here. Yeah. We're trapped. We need your help. We need you to help us fight it. And if you think that this is just going to end here, he's not going to be happy with just the United States. It's going to go global. Right. And it's not going to stop there. He's you know, if you're going to be complacent, he's going to be at your doorstep and before you know it. So we need to be prepared as a galaxy for what is about to happen.
Right.
Well, so one thing I think was interesting is that if you look at the team of Avengers that Cap's assembled, I don't think any of them are American.
Yeah, ironically.
So, like, maybe they're okay with the whole, like, you know, it's like, oh, America's got a Hydra,
just one planet, just one planet, so why not?
That's a good point. Well, so Peter Quill does go to some kind of cadre of...
with the Kree?
Was it the Kree?
I think it was the Kree.
The Kree. So he goes to the Kree and basically makes his little pitch to them to basically get help,
Right.
defeat the Chitauri and try to somehow get them back into Earth. So he actually makes the pitch and says, listen, Captain America has taken over the United States. He makes the point to say it's the United States. It's the most powerful nation on Earth. And then by the further along in that issue, I think you basically have the United States now making moves internationally to attack other entities, Wakanda and also Atlantis, to retrieve bits of the fragments.
Yeah, actually, that's that's a good point. So right now we're looking at 2 resolutions. They've presented 2 resolutions to how this could end.
Yes.
They have the Black Widow method, which will be to off-cap along with her little proteges. The other option is to find the shards of the shattered Cosmic Cube.
Yep.
Hopefully bring those back and
they had what 7 pieces were already assembled pretty much within the first book, and then they were returning with the last piece when Selleck he knocked out I can't even remember what the guy's name is right now, but he essentially stole it because he wanted Kubik to be restored, or Kobik to be restored. So but then he ends up killing himself. So there's kind of some confusion about what's going on there.
So as far as we know, like the shards are all scattered, right?
They were. Yeah.
And both sides are basically now like trying to
identify where they are.
Right.
So as far as we know, there's only like 3 shards out there in the wild. There was the one in Wakanda,
right?
The one in Atlantis, which ended up being a kind of false flag thing, and then there was another one, right? And do we know where that one is?
I don't recall where a third one was offhand. I guess we're gonna brush up on this.
To your point.
So
I don't know if there was a point. I'm saying this is
potential resolution.
This is what our resolutions are, right? But now they threw a 3rd resolution at us, and if you didn't read up to issue 2 yet, you haven't seen that either, and that was like the big reveal at the end of issue 2 with a 2nd Steve Rogers.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
So,
which I have to say, I kind of suspected that could potentially happen, but again, there was no hint of it up to this point. But with the kind of the back and forth between the 2 potential realities, I figured that there was an opportunity there.
Whenever you're talking about cosmic shifting entities, there's always possibility of alternate dimensions or parallel realities. We'll flip to it at this one.
So I think like the multiple universe theory basically suggests that if there is an ability to make a memory of that thing, that it actually has to potentially exist. So just the fact that you have 2 Captain Americas, one that remembers, oh, this is how I grew up, this is what my life was like, and then another one says, no, this is the reality. That in turn makes both realities actually physical.
So what's interesting about the reveal is that the rest of the issue was done with artwork by Sorrentine. And when we get to the reveal of this last cap at the final pages, the artwork is done by someone completely different. So it makes you think that this is all happening in either a different alternate world, alternate reality than where the main story is, where the artwork style is done completely different. We don't know who this guy is. He shows up out of nowhere in the end of issue 2. They kind of go in with a little more explanation of him and this woman that he rescues in issue 3, but we still don't know who he is, where this is happening.
Right.
But we all assume that this is going to be critical to how he comes back to being the Cap we all know.
Right.
So who is it? Who's the 2nd Cap?
So it could just simply be that we're following a timeline that isn't actually taking place within the universe that the rest of the Marvel stories are taking place in, or
we don't know. Yeah, I mean, it never actually makes a mention of when it is or where it is.
2 timelines meeting together.
Right.
That's right.
So I mean, I don't if you remember back when the first Civil War happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it, Cap ends up getting shot on the steps of the State House.
Yeah.
But then it turns out like he wasn't shot with a regular gun. He got shot by like a time portal gun that shot him and displaced him through time, and he was like jumping around a bit. So there's a chance this could be a time displaced Cap.
Right.
There's a chance this could be like Cap from maybe like an alternate universe. In Secret Wars, there was a Hydra planet And you have to imagine if there's a Hydra planet, there may have been a Hydra cap.
Right.
Maybe somehow those two are connected.
Perhaps.
We
Well-
have a long way to go.
We have a long way to go. Time will tell, but bottom line is we hope that you decide to pick this book up because it really has been a very fun event to read. It's going to have lasting ramifications, we believe, and probably will be the last set of events that are going to happen in Marvel's world for quite some time, and which is kind of refreshing, I think, for people's wallets. Anyway. That's pretty much all we have on Secret Empire, but we're going to turn our attention maybe to some other material. So with that,